If you're running a business, you're probably thinking about all the obvious risks, right? Fire, theft, a bad economy. But what about the threat that can come from right inside your own team? Today, we're going to talk about a danger that's pretty much invisible until it's way too late. It's called Employment Practices Liability, or EPLI. It is so easy to hear about this stuff and think, that's a big company issue. That's for the giant corporations with huge HR departments. But as we're about to see, that assumption, well, it's a dangerous one to make. And that's the absolute key right there. If your business has people, employees, managers, even just job applicants, then you are exposed. It has nothing to do with how big your company is. It's about the simple, complicated fact of managing other human beings. It's really easy to underestimate the potential damage here. You might be thinking, look, we have a great team, we're like a family, that would never happen to us. But the reality can be so different. I mean, we are talking about consequences that can completely unravel everything you have worked so hard to build. Just one disgruntled employee, or heck, even a job applicant you didn't even hire, can set off a chain reaction that puts your entire business on the line. And here is the truly terrifying part of employment law. An employee only has to allege that you did something wrong. A claim doesn't have to be true to be financially devastating. The second it's filed, the meter starts running on legal fees, and those can hit insane numbers just to prove you were innocent all along. Okay, so now that we get the financial threat, let's get specific. Where do these claims actually come from? We're going to break down the 4 most common types of lawsuits that every single business with employees needs to have on their radar. First up, the big one. This is, by a long shot, the #1 claim that businesses face. It is the most common and, frankly, one of the most expensive lawsuits you can run into. So what does that actually mean? Well, basically, it's when an employee says they were fired not for bad performance or doing something wrong, but for an illegal reason. And the list of what they can claim is incredibly broad. Let's look at a few examples. An employee takes legally protected medical leave, and a month later, you let them go. Or maybe you fire an older worker, and they turn around and claim it was because of their age. Now, even if you had a totally valid business reason, it's the perception, the allegation, that kicks off the lawsuit. Building on that, our second major risk is discrimination. And this isn't just about hiring and firing, not at all. It can creep into every single part of the job. This could be about who gets promotions, who gets paid more, who gets the better shifts, anything. The heart of the claim is that an employee feels they were treated differently because of who they are, not what they do. All right, next up is a really nasty one, a claim that can be devastating, not just financially, but to your reputation. Harassment. The key phrase here is hostile work environment. See, it doesn't have to be one single big dramatic event. It can be ongoing comments or actions from a manager, a coworker, or even a customer that makes someone feel unsafe or degraded at their job. And as the owner, you are the one who's ultimately responsible for that environment. And finally, we've got the fastest growing category of all these claims, retaliation. And this one is really tricky. It catches so many employers completely off guard. So picture this. An employee complains about harassment. You do a full investigation and you find out their complaint has 0 merit. But later on, you fire them or you cut their hours. Well, they can now sue you for retaliation, and they can win, even though their original complaint was completely baseless. It's like a second lawsuit that can be even more dangerous than the first. Okay, so we've looked at the risks, and they're pretty scary. So let's talk about the shield. How do you protect your business from these potentially catastrophic threats? Well, that is where Employment Practices Liability Insurance, EPLI, comes into play. This insurance is built specifically to be your financial firewall against the exact kind of lawsuits we've just been talking about. Let's break down what it actually pays for. So this is the core value. First and foremost, it covers your defense costs, your lawyers, the court fees, all of that. That's the money that starts draining from you on day 1. It also covers settlements if you decide to end the case early, and it covers judgments if you happen to lose in court. It can even cover the costs of dealing with a government agency like the EEOC. But, and this is a really big but, it's just as important to understand what EPLI is not. It is not a get-out-of-jail-free card for bad behavior. The policy has some very specific and really important exclusions. So EPLI is not going to cover you for intentionally breaking the law or for criminal acts. It's also not for physical injuries. That's what other policies like general liability or workers' comp are for. The best way to think about EPLI is that it protects you from the financial damages of employment-related claims, not from every single risk your business faces. Talking about this stuff in theory is one thing, but let's look at what these claims actually cost in the real world. These examples really show you how high the stakes are. Okay, here's a perfect scenario. Someone you interviewed but didn't hire sues you. They claim you asked discriminatory questions. The court looks at the case and says nope and throws it out. You did nothing wrong. You won. So what did that victory cost you? $60,000. That's what it costs the business just to prove its own innocence. That is purely legal defense fees for a claim that had absolutely no merit. Without EPLI, that 60 grand comes straight out of your bank account. Now let's look at a more serious one. A harassment claim gets filed, but there are no witnesses and nobody's ever complained before. It's a classic he said, she said situation. The business decides to settle rather than risk a public, messy trial that could destroy their reputation. The final bill, when you add up the settlement and the legal fees, was $250,000. For a lot of small businesses, a hit like that isn't just a bad day. It's an extinction-level event. So the risks are very real and the costs are obviously severe. But you are not helpless here. Insurance is one piece of the puzzle. Good habits are the other. Let's turn this from something to be afraid of into a simple plan of action. Here are 5 things every single business should be doing. 1. Document everything. Performance issues, warnings, everything. 2. Train your supervisors. They are your first line of defense. 3. Be consistent. Apply your rules the same way to everybody. 4. Investigate every complaint. Take it seriously. And 5. Before you fire anyone, please get a second opinion. These steps, plus insurance, create a really powerful defense. And that's really the bottom line here. Protecting your business isn't about being scared of your employees. It's about being prepared for the complex, messy reality of the modern workplace. It's a strategic investment in the survival of the business you've worked so hard to build. And that leaves you with one last question to ask yourself. Is the cost of being prepared really greater than the price of being wrong just once?